everybody, old guy jamming here, 3 years down the rabbit hole of tone, and I'm going to tell you what I kept as far as amps and pedals today. So, just a quick rundown of the amps I've had, either owned or kept for at least 3 weeks jamming on. Not to brag by any means, but just to let you know my reference, where I'm coming from, all right? So in the Fender, from Fender, I've had the Hot Rod Deluxe, the Blues Junior, the Super Champ, Bass Breaker 15, and the Princeton. Now, I would probably own a Princeton, except it doesn't have an effects loop. Every time I've played one, I've said, damn, that sounds good. However, no effects loop, and that's a deal breaker for me. Now, the Bass Breaker also was just a killer amp. I really liked the tones from the Bass Breaker, but the effects loop was really loud, and I wished I would have preferred 2 channels that were foot switchable rather than the 3 channels that you get by turning the knob on top. So while I really like the tones, I want more variability without having to walk back to the amp, turn the knob, re-EQ it, you know, for your tone. That didn't make any sense to me. It's like select one tone, and then you of course have pedals, but depending on what you do with the drive section of the Bass Breaker, that kind of limits you on the pedal platform that it can be as you get higher and higher in gain. Anyway, so that's the Fender stuff I've played. The Hughes and Kettner, played the 2 Meister 18, the 20, and the 36. I don't know if it was a 36 Deluxe or not, but it had a shared EQ. It had a cool boost for the lead. It had you know, dual channels, but it still shared an EQ. And I was always having to go back and adjust between my foot switchable settings, which was too bad. I didn't get up into the higher end Grandmeister 40, 2 Meister 40, whatever it's called, because overall I didn't really like it anyway. It was always very nasally and hissy to me. And looking at it, while the blue light was really cool, looking into that, I could never see where my knobs were anyway. I couldn't tell where they were adjusted to, and that bothered me. So I didn't like it. PV Classic 30, great amp. Valve King, so-so. 6505 mini head, great amp, except until I played the EVH LBX2, and then I was really a lot happier with that. The PV Classic, or the PV 6505, great dirty channel, not so much a clean channel amp, but it had some really good character. I liked that one quite a bit. EVH, LBX, and LBX2. I also like the PV Classic 30, but the mirrored backing plate behind the knobs really drove me crazy. Plus, it seemed to get really hot. But a funny thing happens as you start to look at amps. You start with solid state, and then you go in and you play a tube amp, and you think, dang, that sounds really good. And then you play a little higher end tube amp, and you say, dang, that sounds even better. And then you try something else, and as you go up in price, I guess it's to be expected, but as you go up in price, it's like, dang, that sounds so good. So you keep working, and you keep saving your money, and you upgrade. That's what you do. Also, Orange Terror, Orange Series, love the amps. Terror Series, the Rocker, the OR15, played those. Kept the Brent Hines for quite a while, but I just couldn't get used to that natural channel. And then getting the Mesa, I had the tightness all through the range of gain that the Orange offers, the tight, mildly driven tones, the tight, high driven tones. So there was no longer any need to keep the Brent Hines. But as far as the Terror Series goes, I think the Rocker Series, the Brent Hines is the way to go. Has an effects loop, sounds killer, but it's that darn natural channel. Couldn't get used to. All right, also spent a lot of time with ignators. I've owned a lot of ignators, several Tweaker 15s, but then again, getting the Mesa, that covers that tone that the Tweaker 15 delivered. That really tight, low-driven, crunch tone. I get that out of the Mesa, so no longer need a Tweaker 15. I also had the Tweaker 40. I also had a Rebel 30, and for a long time, it quit. Ignator fixed it very quickly, turned it right back around for free. Good company. But I settled on the Rebel 20 for a while, and finally got rid of it as well, just because, well, it was a single channel amp. But again, the Mesa offers up so many good tones, I didn't feel like I needed the Rebel clean channel and its dirty channel. Black Star HT5 and the HT50 MK2, the big one. Never had a 20, always kind of wanted a 20, but never had one. Marshall 40C, so the old DSL 40C, killer green channel with the drive up, and didn't care for the ultra gain channel though because it was kind of brittle. DSL 20CR, the head version, had an issue with the effects loop, so I didn't keep that. The DSL 5CR, killer amp, plush right out of the box, love that. And so what I ended up keeping was the Fender Supersonic 22 right there. I did repaint the emblem, trimmed it out in white around the edges, and gave it a nice stove gray, sparkly stove paint gray, and then cut the edges with white. That looks a lot better to me. And then I kept the Supersonic's great. It covers a lot of Fender stuff. Very nice, clean channel. Fun to play the Court, the Strats, the Telecasters through. Very nice for that. And then the Marshall DSL 40CR is a great, great amp. Love that amp. Covers a lot of tones, and it's definitely got that Marshall tone. The Marshall Clean is kind of a singular tone. It's a standout tone. And very nice. I like it. And then the Dirt side, of course, very nice to play with the Les Paul and the other humbucker style guitars. And then I got this Mesa some time ago. Almost sold it, and was told, a grumpy guitar guy told me, sit down, fix it, do whatever you need to, but don't sell it just yet. And I'm glad I did. Also, Alan Swanson let me know that I should probably try it with a vintage 30. That PV cab was a 212 greenback, 8-ohm greenbacks, and it sounded great in that. But this last weekend, I put a vintage 30 in there, and it really is a much more musical setup now. The Mesa, there's a lot more top end, there's a lot more sparkle with that vintage 30 in. I have the greenback on the right side, and the vintage on the left, because the vintage 30 is a little bit louder, so I wanted it further away from me where I stand and play. But really a nice improvement for that rig right there. Now, what sucked is that when I was replacing that speaker, this greenback right here, I got into the cab and it was sticking, the cork was sticking all around. I was able to lift one side and started working my way around, but I couldn't get to the side down in the corner. I couldn't get anything under the cork, and I really didn't think I should have to. I started peeling up the speaker. The cork stuck and totally ripped off the surround to my greenback. So that really sucks. So Alan Swanson, this is your fault. Now, really, the vintage 30 sounds good, so I appreciate the tip there. No hard feelings. The upside to this is that a new surround is only about 12 bucks from a company I found online. And so now I'm going to get to put a new surround on my speaker, which is not something a lot of people ever do. And so I'll get a chance to do that, which is kind of cool. I like to learn new things. So that should be fun. And then I won't sell that because I don't feel comfortable selling it because I'm doing the work and it's the first one I've ever done. But I will throw it in a cabinet and maybe even put it in the Stage Right Monoprice. Oh, that's another one I kept. I still have the Stage Right. Oh, and another one I played is the TSA 15 by Ibanez. It's a 6v6 little head, 15-watt head. And it's really nice, but it is just one channel. You have the integral TSA, or the integral tube screamer, the TSA part, the tube screamer, and it's a great amp. It's super fun, nice effects loop, and sounds great. But with the Supersonic, I don't have an itch for the 6v6 type Fender-esque tones that I might normally would. All right, so that's where I'm at. I'm keeping these. I'm curious a little bit about the Rev G20, but I've had 2 Rev Overdrive pedals, and based on those pedals, I'm not real interested in the Rev G20. I didn't care for the green or the purple Rev pedal, and so I think I'll just pass on the G20. I have seen some reviews, but it seems overly complicated. Plus, it has a shared EQ. I think you can EQ the clean and EQ the dirty and then save them. But I haven't seen a super clear review of that. Anyway, also EVH LBX is coming out with a stealth LBX, but from what I've read already, I'm not interested in that too because it's a mix of the green and the red channel. Having played an LBX, the dirty channel was ridiculously hot, and so, you know, and with the Mesa, I think I'm dialed there. What I am getting is a 2-channel Joyo Zombie pretty soon, and I'm curious about that, the Joyo stuff. It's 2 channels. It's the Mark II of the Joyo, and it's got a shared EQ, but it does have a clean channel and a dirty channel, and it has an effects loop, and it's Bluetooth, so I can have my backing tracks on my iPad, go right over to the Zombie, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that sounds like compared to the Mesa, since that's the one it's supposed to be emulating. All right? Okay, let's talk about some pedals, and then we'll be out of here. All right, so let's get all the way down here on the ground. Polytune, of course, you got to have a Polytune. You don't have to. Paul Gibbert has a vibration type tuning deal on his guitars, but I love the use of the simplicity and the accuracy. This is one of the best pedals ever, the Soul Food. You can get it for 60 bucks or so on Reverb. Very nice, organic, somewhat transparent tone. Super great, works as a clean boost, and or if you crank up this drive, it gets dirty. But still in the crunch territory rather than a distortion pedal. OCD, I don't like this one as much as the 1.4 that I have, but this one does work well on a mid-heavy amp like the Fender. That's why I have it on this pedal board. I made this pedal board. I wouldn't buy a pedal board. I would make a pedal board. I don't know why people spend so much on pedal boards, but the OCD works great on the Fender, although I don't like it with the Marshall or the Mesa because it has a mid-scooped kind of characteristic. But that actually plays pretty well with the Fender type amp. The 805 by Seymour Duncan is great because it has a 3-band EQ, which gives you a lot of variability. Works pretty well as a clean boost and or a overdrive pedal. It got quite a few awards with Guitar Magazine. It has some gear awards, so it's a nice pedal. The analog chorus, I tried a few choruses. This is one of the few that work when the gain comes up as well. I like that you can kind of have control over where the chorus kicks in, over what range of your guitar playing, frequency range. You can kind of control where the chorus sits, and it's got a nice range of depth, rate, and level, which is nice. You can mix the dry and wet signal with this. Plus, you can crank it up and get some Zakk Wylde tones because it still sounds good even when really pushed. This is my effects loop part up here, the Atlantic by Nooks. It's got a great selection of reverbs and a nice delay. There are better reverb pedals out there. This does sound a little bit digital, but you know, it's great, really. The delay is very nice, and the reverb's okay. It's better than okay. Reverb's nice, but there are better. What I do like about this is it has the hold for shimmer effect, and you can also connect the pedal, I believe, to this so that you can have your trigger out here easier to get at. But if I rest my foot on my Polytune right here, then I can kick this shimmer on as I need to when I'm playing a particular piece, and have that come on whenever I want, and when I want the shimmer to go away, I just let it go. And it also has a tap tempo for the delays. Blackstar modulation pedal, one of the best. I've played several all-in-one modulation pedals, and this is one of the best I've ever played, so I hung on to it. It's got a rotary, It's got tremolo for sure. Choruses, couple of choruses, 3 choruses. It's got a phaser, a couple of phasers, and it got a flanger. And they all work really well. The flanger might be the weakest part of it. The rotary's great, the tremolo's great, phaser's great. I have a chorus, so I don't need the chorus. But the flanger might be one of the weaker flangers, but it is more of a jet engine flanger, which I like. Many flangers end up to be kind of phasers, and I'm not real crazy about that. So, and then the Ditto, great. Love the Ditto looper. I wouldn't have, I just wouldn't do anything without a looper. My joy comes from looping phrases and then writing over stuff, the journey. Now, this is the Timmy Overdrive, a super famous pedal. Very transparent, except I have a hard time ever getting it bright enough. So it's a love-hate relationship, but this would swap out for right around in here somewhere with one of these drives. This is where I swap this one in and out. And then this little Horseman Nux is for my mini pedal board because it's every bit as nice as the Timmy, the OCD, or the 805. It's got a cold stage and a hot stage, and it is transparent. It sounds good with low overdriven tones, and it sounds good hot. It'll also kick an amp into a nice saturated lead if you want it to as well, just like the Mini TS9. So great pedal, and it would go in here somewhere. Swap it out with this too. I use this pedal board with my Marshall and my Fender Supersonic. That's great. All right, over to the next pedal. All right, swinging over to pedal board 2. This is my setup for the higher gain amps, the EVH LBX2, or my Mesa, or the orange Brent Hines that I had in here. Sold both those amps, and I'm left with the Mesa Mark 525, and this pedal board works really well with that. This Brownie Pill, it was a surprise of the summer. A guy named Chad at CMAT Mods makes these, and a host of others. He's probably got 16 pedals all together, and this is a great pedal. It's hard to get a bad tone out of it. It'll push a low amp, it'll push a high gain amp, it'll clean boost, it will push even with some gain on it without getting too flubby or muddy on the bottom end. Really fun. I traded this for a flashback down in Roseville. Now that was kind of cool. Really happy with that though. And OCD, love this as just, it's got so much volume on tap as a clean boost. Once you turn the gain up, the boost is ridiculous. It's just huge. But I love this for its clean boost ability to, when you want that really searing lead tone in a hot amp, you crank this thing on and you just can't go wrong with it. It sounds so good. Now, because the Mesa is so tight, at lower driven tones with less overdrive, when you turn the gain down on the Mesa, it still sounds great because it's so darn tight. What I like to do is actually turn this gain up a little on the pedal to help push the amp into more of that searing, saturated, compressed lead tone like you get with a Marshall. If I was pushing this, a Marshall with this, I would have the drive all the way down, but because the Mesa gets such great tones with less gain, I'm able to push this drive up a little bit. TS9 Tube Screamer, love-hate with this. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it, but I'm going to keep it. It's great. As far as tremolo pedals go, I tried a bunch. I tried some really high-end stuff as well. And this tremolo by Joyo is great. It's I think $35–40. You go inside, and one of the pots you tweak up a little bit, and you get the tones are louder from it, so that you don't have that dropout that so often you get with a tremolo pedal. I forget what it was I tried, but they're pretty high-end optical tremolos. They make quite a few, large dial in the middle, and I thought the Joyo was every bit as good as either of those. Now, this is the Gus G signature pedal, speed dimming. It's pretty much a cheaper version of the OCD. It's very much an OCD, but not as good. So it's adequate. but this is the beast. This is the king. This would go right there, though. I love Gus G, so I picked up one of his pedals, and I may end up selling that. I don't know. We'll see what it is. Now, the Rat. I love this pedal. I can't believe I went so long without getting a Proco Rat. Very useful. I use it mostly on very low distortion. You can see the distortion's way down here. Volume's about halfway up. And I use it for blues mostly. I really don't like the high gain stuff because I have amplifiers that produce high gain that is much nicer than any of the pedals. I don't have a lot of distortion pedals because the gain I get from the amps, the distortion I get from my amps is what I was after anyway, rather than going through a pedal. I like tube distortion over pedal distortion, but what a surprise this was. It will do some searing lead stuff. It works great with a Fender. It works great to push an already driven tone a little further, and a lot of variability. These knobs do a lot of stuff. So super fun, and they're cheap because they've been around forever. This is the effects loop part of this pedal board, my Boss DR3. Somebody was asking about you record with it or not, and because in the review of this I said the tones aren't good enough to record with, and I may have misspoke because the tones are actually okay if you want to just record with it as it is. The thing that's difficult with this is the programming of it. To try and program this as a drum machine is a nightmare. But if you want to just find a beat you like and hit play, I've recorded with it and it sounds fine. Is it going to be as good as Easy Drummer? No, but it will be. It certainly will suffice. Now I got this Joyo analog delay for the mini pedal board. Again, 35 or 40 bucks for this, used on Reverb. I love Reverb. You can get a lot of used stuff that's just almost brand new condition, and for like half of what you'd pay elsewhere, or at least a good deal on it. But that delay would normally go there, but I really got it for my grab and go mono price. The Stage Right is my grab and go gig with grab and go amp with the small pedal board. I wanted a delay, so I got that one. It's a very nice analog delay. But on my pedal board here, I run the Echo Machine by Behringer. And I know Behringer pedals get a bad rap, but this thing is great. I love this delay. It's got trails on or off, which is super cool. And it's got every kind of delay you could possibly think of. I use it for an analog delay. That's where I live. Really not into the ping pong or the ducks, things like that. But one thing I really like about it is that you can select the trails. And it's got 3 analog, digital, and or tape selectings. And then you have variations of that. Swirling delay, slapback delay, timed delays, duck delay, ping pong, pretty much whatever you want. But good luck finding one of these. If you can find one, I would get it. But the last time I saw one used, it was $98, which is pretty much what you're going to pay for a better delay. But it's great. I love it. And then this reverb from MXR is super great. It's got 6 different type of reverbs, and it also has a great shimmer, which I really appreciate. And then the loop station. This all works together through my looper so that I can mix the beats and whatever I'm playing. It all is captured by the looper and runs through the 212 cab in the Mesa amplifier. All right, so that's that. Now, things I'm gonna sell would include these 3. These are things I've had right here that I really don't care to have anymore. They have served their purpose. Modded Metal Zone, MXR full bore metal. It's really super heavy. Onboard noise gate, but it's black metal, death metal territory. Pretty dark. And because I love the distortion I'm getting through my amplifiers, I just love tube distortion over pedal distortion. I'll probably end up selling this guy. But it's super, really nice. It's listed often. It's listed on the top 10 distortion pedals you'll often find this super badass right there. And then the little EP booster, heard so much about that, is a clean boost. Went ahead and got one, but I find just turning the drive down on the overdrive pedals I have works great. Plus, with the overdrive pedal as a clean boost, I have the option of tone as well. Now back in here there are some switches to change the brightness level, but I prefer having a tone so that I can tweak it to my liking on the fly without having to get into the back. All right, so that's the pedal boards. So, again, not to brag, but hopefully to let you know what after 3 years I found worth keeping and the pedals I really, really like. I've played lots of pedals, and these are the ones I ended up keeping. I would like to know what your favorite overdrive is. I'm not curious about too many. I am kind of curious about an Angry Charlie because the guys from the pedal show like it so much. I keep hearing about that as just a really good overdrive pedal. I've tried, you know, Brian Wampler pedals. I've tried high-end pedals, low-end pedals, and I'm really happy with what I have. But what is your favorite drive pedal? Is there a drive pedal I'm missing that I need to check out? That's kind of what I'm curious about. All right, so thank you so much for coming by to watch. Let me know if there's a pedal I should be getting. The other one I'm thinking about it maybe need is a phaser, like the Phaser 90, the MXR phaser, or maybe the little one, the MXR phaser 45, because it can do two different things. Would I like it? I have a wah pedal. I've had different things. I'm pretty much a straight up guy. Give me a little tremolo once in a while, some drive, some delay, a little chorus once in a while. That's pretty much, but should I get a phaser? I don't know. Is there something I desperately need? I'm not real far out. I don't like ambient space music. Just give me some straight up rock and roll. So, thanks again for coming by. Rock on.